Hi guys, Maikeru here. This is my video on cost-effective PVM perks with Ancient Invention. In this video, I'll go over generic budget perks that are really OP and strong, especially for their price, and they're useful in pretty much any situation. That does mean I won't be including things like Aftershock, etc. because they are kind of expensive. I'll be making a separate video in the future for best in slot PVM perks, but I feel like when you get into Invention and you just power level the skill to 99, you're kinda lost on what perks to put on your gear, and these will be the ones that you should put on, especially when you're trying to save some money at the same time. So let's get right into it. If you don't have Ancient Gizmos unlocked, you can buy the blueprint from the GE. It costs about $1 mil, and it requires 85 Invention to use this. Although you can boost up to it with an extreme invention potion from level 68. So you can get this super early on, and I wouldn't really advise making any perks until you're 68 and you can buy this. Then you can look into making the budget perks that I showcase in this video. So just purchase this for $1 mil and then you can make any of these perks that I showcase. So without further ado, let's get into this video. When it comes to your weapon perk number 1, I would advise Precise 6 and Genocidal. To make this, you use 9 historic components. If you need historic components, you can literally disassemble any artifact from Archaeology if you have some spare in the bank, or you can buy them off the GE, they aren't that expensive. They sell boxes on the GE. You have a 19% chance to get this perk at 120 with an extreme invention potion. And you only need Genocidal if you're doing Slayer. So typically if you're perking out your gear and you're never ever going to use it for Slayer, you can not even worry about Genocidal as a combo with Precise 6 and get it on its own, and then you have a 32% chance to get Precise 6. But if you're going to use the gear for any type of Slayer, I definitely would recommend getting Genocidal on it as well. When it comes to your second weapon perk, which will go in the second slot of a two-hander or in your offhand, I would go with Equilibrium 4. This requires 8 time-worn components. You have a 90% plus chance with an extreme invention potion, even at low levels. And if you're 120, you have a 96% chance for this perk. So typically you'll get this perk on your first try and it will cost you barely any money. Time-worn components again can be got from disassembling any artifacts that you have lying around from Archaeology, or you can buy a box from the GE and they are pretty damn cheap. Time-worn are the cheapest boxes, I think. Equilibrium's an absolute solid perk and you should always use this. It's so cheap, there's no reason not to. Now moving on to your armor perks. You have 2 slots in your chest and 2 in your legs. You have 4 armor perks that you can choose. For your first armor perk, I would advise Impatient 4. This requires 6 Zaros, 1 Zamorak, or 6 Zamorak, 1 Zaros in the layout that I show right here. The one component needs to be in the middle and the others need to surround it in this way. Both of these combinations have a 95% chance at 120 with an extreme invention potion. Although Zaros components are a bit cheaper to get than Zamorak. It just depends on how you want to get these components to how you do it. You can get Zamorak components from War Priest and you can do it that way. Or you can just go buy a Virtus wand or something, level it up at Abyssal Demons and disassemble it for Zaros. The wand would be a bit more expensive, but much quicker than farming War Priest. But War Priest is essentially free, and you'll make money while doing it at, like, Spiritual Warriors or something. So however you wanted to do it, decent perk either way, and it wouldn't cost you too much even if you have to buy the Virtus wand for it. It gives you more adren on your hits, so anything that gives you more adren and gets you to your thresholds and ultimates quicker is an amazing perk in my books. Next up for your second armor perk, I would advise Enhanced Devoted 4. Enhanced Devoted 4 requires 8 faceted components and has a 73% chance at 120 with an extreme invention potion. But even at lower levels, you still have a solid chance at this, and it probably will only take you a maximum of maybe 2 or 3 attempts. Faceted components can be gained from crystal flasks. If you want to power through one item for faceted, crystal flasks are probably the way to go. Enhanced Devoted procs Devotion, which makes your protection prayers work 100% for 4 seconds. So whenever it procs, it's just 4 seconds of 0 damage incoming, and it's absolutely fantastic. Moving on to Armor Perk 3, this is probably the perk that is going to be the hardest to get in the whole video. This perk is Biting 3. To get this perk, you want to use 9 direct components. This will give you a 4.9% chance at 68 Invention to get this perk. Level 68 Invention is the optimal level to try for this perk. If you are over level 68 Invention, you can lower your level by standing in the snow outside of God Wars Dungeon 1 before you drop down. If you take a look on screen, every time I get hit at this snowy place, my level goes down by 1. So you would just stay here until your level hits 68, then start spam making your perks once you hit 68. Biting increases your chance to crit, which is huge for damage. Highly would recommend this perk, even though it is going to take you on average about 20 attempts. This is way cheaper than using Noxious components and makes it a very, very viable budget perk. Most of the money you're going to spend on this perk is the actual Ancient Invention Gizmos. You can get cheap direct components by just disassembling Elderrune +5 pickaxes, so it isn't too bad to spam this. The last armor perk I would recommend is Relentless 5, which is a brand new perk with Ancient Invention. This requires 8 vintage components, which is obtained by disassembling certain artifacts that you may have left over from Archaeology, or again buying a box off the GE. It isn't too expensive to grab a box, and it has an 85% chance at 120 with an Extreme Invention Potion to give you this perk, so it shouldn't take too many attempts to get Relentless 5 either. While doing this, you actually have a 5% chance to get Relentless 5 Crackling 4, which is a best in slot perk. So if you do get lucky and you hit that 5% chance and you get Relentless 5 Crackling 4, then congratulations on a best in slot perk. But say for example, if you get Relentless 5 on your first craft, I wouldn't keep crafting it to try and get Relentless 5 Crackling 4, as that's going to cost you 20 times the amount of money. Even more if you get unlucky. What the Relentless perk does is make it so your special attacks, your thresholds, and your ultimates have a chance of not consuming any adrenaline. So for certain special attacks, that'd be 25 to 30% adrenaline saved if it procs. For ultimates, it'd save you 100% adrenaline, and for thresholds, it'd save you 15% adren. There's honestly nothing more satisfying, in my opinion, than doing a Zerk and having 100% adrenaline still after you Zerk. Then just spamming out every threshold you can and doing tons of damage. It's so satisfying. Definitely an absolutely amazing perk and a super fun one at that. Highly would recommend Relentless 5. And lastly, I want to give an armor perk alternative, which I think is one of the best perks in the game, but it's situational. And that is Scavenging 3 or 4. This perk is only really good for AoE and monsters. So if you're doing single target bossing, this perk is going to be useless. But if you're doing Slayer or you're camping a monster to level, Invention, or your combats or whatever, Scavenging is amazing. Scavenging has a 1% per rank to give you an uncommon component when you kill a monster. So that means if you have Scavenging 4, it has a 4% chance to give you 4 uncommon components, which is insane. Not only does it give you uncommon components for days, it also has a 1% chance to convert those uncommon components into rare ones. This means you may get lucky and get something crazy like Illajunkin components from this perk. So if you are going to be using your gear for a lot of Slayer or AoE monster farming, I would advise replacing either Relentless or Enhanced Devoted with this perk. I'd replace Enhanced Devoted if you're camping somewhere like Abyssal Demons or Hellhounds where you would just soul split and you don't use your protection prayers, because then Enhanced Devoted is not needed. Although if you are doing fairly hard Slayer tasks like Creatures of the Lost Grove, Edamu, Soul Devourers, etc., where you're using your protection prayers and a Vampirism Scrimshaw, then I would advise keeping Enhanced Devoted and dropping Relentless for it. So I guess it's just a bit of a situational perk to what you would replace for it. And again, like I said, if you're not doing AoE combat and you're doing single target bossing or something, you don't want Scavenging. In order to get Scavenging, you just use 9 precious components. Scavenging 4 has a 6.5% chance at 120 with an Extreme Invention Potion, and it isn't that much worse at lower levels either. And Scavenging 3 has a 36% chance at 120 with an Extreme Invention Potion. So it isn't that bad of a perk to get, and it's going to give you so many awesome components for future use. I use Scavenging whenever I do Slayer, and I have thousands and thousands of uncommon components, and it's also given me multiple free biting perks and aftershock perks over the long run that I've been using it. Amazing perk, definitely would say it's a great alternative to use for AoE monster killing. And with that being said, that is my roundup for generic budget perks that are absolutely insane for PVM. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe if you're new for loads of future RuneScape free content like this. And until next time, see ya.